Am I audible to everyone? Can you people hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So actually we were having hospital postings for the final year, so we have to arrange the classes in this way. Okay, I hope you all don't mind. So in today's class we'll talk about certain terminologies. Okay, I have taught about the concept of health, what is health, and about the concept of disease and what is disease. So today we'll learn about certain terminologies and then we'll learn about the natural history of disease. So we'll start from the basic ones. So first is preventive medicine. So if I say preventive medicine, so what do you understand by it? If I break the word preventive, it means to prevent something, okay, to prevent a disease from occurring. So if I say medicine, so these are the ones, or these are the medicines, or these are the measures, okay, that are given to the healthy people. I mean to say the people who are not affected by the disease, but then we give them these medicines to prevent the developing or the development of that disease. For example, the vaccines. The vaccines that we give. Now we are giving this COVID vaccine. So if I am taking COVID vaccine, doesn't mean I am affected by the virus. It means just to prevent myself from getting affected by the virus, because of that I am taking the vaccine. So to prevent a disease from occurring or to prevent a microorganism from affecting a person, we are giving certain medicines to the people. So this is known as the preventive medicine. Okay, for example, as I said, the vaccines, then the insecticides which we use like DDT, so to prevent the insects. In the same way, if we are giving these contraceptive methods such as the contraceptive pills, okay, so why do we give them? We give them to prevent the population growth. So these all fall under the category of preventive medicine. So is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now I'll ask a question and I'll give you certain options. Okay, you tell me which one do you think would be the correct one. So if I say preventive medicine is given to dash people, so option A is in the acute phase of the disease. Option B is to healthy people. Option C is in the chronic stage, and option D is in all the stages of the disease. So which one do you think is the correct answer? So there are 5 people, I need 5 answers. Okay.
C, ma'am. C.
C, healthy. Okay.
Chronic. No, not healthy, ma'am.
Chronic.
Yes.
Chronic. Okay. So next, I want 5 answers from 5 people. Yes, what do you think? To whom is the preventive medicine given? First was in the acute phase, then was in the healthy phase, third was in the chronic phase, and fourth is all. So which one do you think is the correct one? Dristilina, she said it's to in the chronic stage. So what the other people think? Are you there? Okay, then I'll ask one by one. Okay, you don't need to worry, you just need to tell me what do you understand by it. Okay, so that I can know if you have understood it or not, and if not, I'll explain it again. So first one I can see is Jina Chakrabarti. Are you there? Can I? Gina, you want to say something? I think so. You said you want to leave or something. I didn't get it. Okay, see, preventive medicine. Gina, I didn't get your message. If you want to leave or if you're having any kind of disturbance, then you can leave and join again, okay? Okay, so preventive medicine, it is given in the healthy individuals, okay, not in the chronic individuals, in the healthy stage, because to prevent the disease, means when a disease has occurred, so the initial stage is known as the acute stage, okay, and the later stage is known as the chronic stage. But then this preventive medicine, you give it in the stage when the disease has not occurred or when the disease has not developed. So that stage is known as the preventive stage, and in that stage you give the preventive medicines. As I gave you the example of vaccine, so if we people are taking the vaccine, for example, nowadays which vaccine is trending, it's the COVID vaccine. So we are taking the COVID vaccine. Why? So that we can prevent ourselves from developing the disease. So, and if I am taking that COVID vaccine, I am a healthy individual. Before the development of the disease, I want to prevent the disease so that the disease does not occur in me or the agent or the microorganism. It cannot affect me. Because of that, we take the vaccines. Another example is the polio vaccine. Why do we take the polio vaccine? So that we do not develop poliomyelitis. Okay. To prevent poliomyelitis, we take the polio vaccine when we are a child. So when we were a child, we were healthy beings, and then we were given that vaccine so that the disease can be prevented. So we give preventive medicine in the healthy state. Okay, is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So within preventive medicine, there are certain levels of prevention. Okay, there are certain levels of prevention. So we have 3 levels of prevention. Number 1 is the primary prevention, number 2 is secondary prevention, and number 3 is tertiary prevention. So primary prevention is to prevent the disease in healthy individuals. For example, as I said, the vaccines. That is the preventive medicine that we give. So if I am a healthy individual, to prevent the disease from developing, to prevent the disease from occurring, the medicines that we take as preventive measures, these are the primary prevention. Okay, for example, the vaccines that we take. Next is the secondary prevention. So it is aimed at those people who had already developed the disease. For example, if I am having fever, cough and cold, and I am taking medicines for it to cure my disease, that is known as the secondary prevention. Third is the tertiary prevention, which is aimed to prevent the chronic disability after a disease. So some diseases, for example, typhoid, such diseases, they leave a permanent disability for a lifetime. Not only typhoid, there are several diseases. Another you can take is the poliomyelitis. So first is the primary prevention. So if by example I'll explain, then just listen to this. If a child or a baby is given the polio vaccine, okay, so that the child does not develop poliomyelitis, that is known as primary prevention. Then next, if certain medications are given when the child has developed polio, suppose a child has developed poliomyelitis and that child is given certain medications to cure the disease, okay, to cure that disease, then it is known as secondary prevention. Third is the tertiary prevention, which is given to prevent the disability after a disease. So poliomyelitis, results in certain disability in a child. So to prevent those disabilities, again the medicines that we give, this is known as the tertiary prevention. So tertiary prevention, it is usually undertaken at the chronic stage of the disease, that is at the later stage of the disease, that is the tertiary prevention. So these are the 3 levels of prevention. So is it clear? Or should I repeat? If you want me to repeat, then I'll repeat. Okay. See, there are secondary one. Okay. So secondary one is aimed at the people who have already developed the disease. Okay. So the medications that we give when a person has already developed the disease, so these medications or whatever treatment we give, that treatment is the secondary prevention, means to prevent the disease from going into the chronic state, means to prevent the disease from like converting from the acute to the chronic stage, or so that the disease does not last long. The medicines that we give that in that stage, that is known as the secondary prevention. Means it means the treatment in the acute phase, or to prevent the acute phase from developing into a chronic state, that we term as the secondary prevention. And then is the tertiary prevention, which we give in the chronic state, so that this chronic stage does not turn into a disability in the individual, that is the tertiary prevention. Clear now? Okay. So these are the 3 levels. Primary prevention, we give it before the disease occurs. Secondary prevention, we give it when the disease has occurred, but to prevent the long-term effect of the disease, we give the secondary prevention. And the tertiary prevention, we give it at the chronic stage or at the last stage of the disease, so that the person does not develop a disability. So that is the tertiary prevention. Okay. So the next terminology is social medicine. Now if I break the term again, social medicine, it means it's related to the society. By the term you can guess that it's something related to the society. So this social medicine, it is the study of man as a social being in his environment, and it focuses mainly on the health of the community. So this social medicine, it considers, according to the concept of social medicine, it considers man as a part of the society, and then it aims at giving treatment to the person residing in the society, and also it takes into account the health of the whole community, and it focuses on the medical needs and the medical care of the society as a whole, which means not only an individual. Social medication, it focuses on the health of the whole community. So that is the social medicine. Clear? Is the social medicine clear? Or you want me to repeat? Then I'll repeat. You want me to repeat social medicine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See, if I say social medicine, it means it has something to do with the society. By the word you can know, or you can just get an idea that it's related to the society. So social medicine, according to that concept of social medicine, it views a human being as a part of the society. Okay. So it aims at the health of the society as a whole. Okay, it does not focus on a single individual, it focuses on the health of the whole society, or the medical needs of the whole society. Okay, so social medicine, it aims at a good health of the society as a whole. and it takes into account the medical needs and the medical care of the whole society. Clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So that is social medicine. Next we have community medicine. So that is your subject, community medicine, community and general medicine. So now preventive medicine and social medicine combined together, they are termed as community medicine. Okay, that's easy. Preventive medicine was the one to prevent the disease in the healthy individual or to prevent the disease occurrence. So that was preventive medicine. Social medicine was, it was viewing the whole needs and the medical care of the society. And then community medicine, these two combined together, preventive and social medicine combined together is community medicine, which means community medicine aims at prevention of the disease. Along with it, it aims at the medical needs of the society as a whole. That is your community medicine. It aims at all of the individual or the whole population and its needs. Okay, and it also include the doctors who measures the needs of these population. Okay, both sick as well as the well-beings, which means the healthcare professionals, they at first measure about the needs of the society. If I say a society, the society has both terms of individuals, both kinds of individual, which means it has the healthy beings as well as there are sick people in the society. So when I say community medicine, this aims at both the healthy people as well as the sick people. Why community medicine aims at the healthy people? To prevent the occurrence of disease in this kind of people. And in the sick people, why? Because they need care so that they can recover from the disease. So community medicine aims at the both groups of people, the sick people as well as the ill people. Sick people or the ill people as well as the healthy people in the society. So is it clear? Social community medicine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we discussed about preventive medicine, primary prevention, secondary prevention, tertiary prevention, social medicine and community medicine. Okay, so these were some important terminologies that are required. So I discussed about these. Okay. So next we'll study about the natural history of disease. So natural history of disease, it studies about how the disease has evolved over time and from its earliest stage to the termination of the disease, which means natural history, it aims at like studying about how the disease has occurred, means from its earliest stage. Okay, how the disease can occur, what is the role of the pathogen. So it studies from starting from that till the recovery from the disease or till the termination of the disease, not essentially recovery, because if I say there is a termination of disease, termination means end. Okay, till the ending of the disease. So if I say ending of a disease, so ending of a disease doesn't only mean recovery, because some people will be recovered, some people will have some kind of disability, and some people might die as well from the same disease. Okay, the same disease, it has different history in different people. Sometimes for example, you can take this COVID scenario for now. Okay, this COVID scenario, in some people they are getting recovered, some people are dying, most of the people are dying, and some people are also having various post COVID symptoms. Okay, but the disease has ended in them, the disease has ended in that particular individual. Because if a particular individual is considered COVID negative, it means the disease or the pathogen is no more there in his body. He has developed antibodies. But then that person might have died, that person might have other complications which has arise from the disease, or that person have recovered completely. So there are these three terms that are used when I say a disease ends. Okay, the ending of a disease doesn't only mean recovery. Ending of a disease might also result in death or disability as well. Okay, so natural history, it studies about how the disease has occurred and about the ending of the disease, which means whether the person has died or the person has recovered or the person is living with certain kind of disability. Clear? You want me to repeat?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if I say natural history of a disease, it means this natural history, it studies about how the disease has occurred, okay, from the starting of the disease till the end of the disease. If I say in simple words, the natural history, it studies about the starting of the disease, then the disease process till the end of the disease. Okay, by the word end of the disease doesn't mean the person has recovered. End of a disease in a certain person means the person might have recovered, or the person has certain kind of disability, or the person has died. Okay, so this is the natural history of disease. Clear now? Means from the starting of the disease till the end of the disease. So this study is known as the natural history of disease. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then natural history of disease, it has two more phases. Okay, the natural history is divided into two phases. One is the pre-pathogenesis phase, another one is the pathogenesis phase. You guys are getting me? Natural history, it means since the start of the disease till the end of the disease. Now the disease might have ended in different ways, whether the person has died or recovered or is living with certain kind of disability. Now if I say natural history of disease, now this is again two phases, pre-pathogenesis phase and pathogenesis phase. So I have told about the term pathogen. So does anybody remember what does pathogen means? This question was in the exam as well regarding pathogen. So what do you understand by the word pathogen?
Ma'am, the microorganisms that cause disease.
Yes. So the microorganism that cause disease, these are the pathogen. So if I say
Yeah.
two phases, one is pre-pathogenesis phase, other is the pathogenesis phase. So you can get an idea. Okay, now if you know the word pathogen, so if I say pre-pathogenesis phase, pre means before. So before the pathogen or the disease organism has entered your body, that phase is known as the pre-pathogenesis phase. Means the disease organism, it is present in the environment, or the pathogen is present in the environment, but it has not entered your body. So that phase is known as the pre-pathogenesis phase, and which means the person or the individual is exposed to the risk of the disease, but it has not developed the disease, which means again the same example I'll give that I has been giving from the starting, that is about the COVID. So if you are a COVID negative person, you are amidst the COVID virus, right? You know, nowadays the new strain or the new mutant, it gets through the air as well. So you are in the midst of this disease, you are in the mid of it, but you have not developed the disease. So this is the pre-pathogenesis phase. Okay, if an individual has not developed the disease but then he is at the risk of developing the disease, then that is the pre-pathogenesis phase. So we are taking all these preventive measures such as using sanitizers, washing hands, wearing gloves and everything. So why we are doing this? To prevent ourselves from developing the disease, because we know the disease is in the environment, the pathogen is in the environment, so we are in the middle of the disease. But to prevent ourselves from that disease, we are taking these preventive measures. So this is the pre-pathogenesis phase, which means the disease is present in the environment, the individual is in the middle of the disease or in the midst of disease but has not developed the disease. Okay, that is the pre-pathogenesis phase. Clear? Clear, or shall I repeat? Shall I repeat this pre-pathogenesis phase, or is it clear? Okay. Pre-pathogenesis. So by the word pathogen, you mean the disease causing organism. So that is the word pathogen. If I say pre-pathogenesis, you can break the term and you can think about it as before developing the disease or before that harmful organism has entered your body. That period is known as the pre-pathogenesis phase. For example, this COVID virus, it's in the environment. We have all the risk of developing the disease if we do not take the preventive measures. But we are also in the midst of this disease. We are exposed to all the risk of the disease. We have all the risk of developing the disease if we do not take the preventive measures. But then still, we have not developed the disease till now. So that is known as the pre-pathogenesis phase, which means before the disease has occurred or before the pathogen, which means the disease causing organism has entered your body, that period is known as the pre-pathogenesis phase. Means the virus or the bacteria, whatever the pathogen is, it is present in the environment, it is in your surroundings, but still you are not getting affected by it. So it is known as the pre-pathogenesis phase. Clear? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that is the pre-pathogenesis phase. Next we have the pathogenesis phase. Now pathogenesis phase, again if I say pathogen, the disease causing organism. So pathogenesis phase means the disease organism has entered your body. Okay, this is the period when the disease organism has entered your body. The entry of disease organism in the susceptible human host. So this is the pathogenesis phase. If I say pre-pathogenesis phase, it means the pathogen is present in the environment but has not entered your body, and pathogenesis phase means the pathogen which was present in the environment has entered your body. This is the pathogenesis phase. Clear? Is the pathogenesis phase clear, or shall I repeat? Okay, I'll repeat it again. Pathogenesis phase, it means the entry of the pathogen into your body. When the pathogen enters your body or the disease causing organism enters your body, then that is known as the pathogenesis phase. Clear? Okay. So these were the two phases in natural history of disease, pre-pathogenesis and pathogenesis. Now pathogenesis phase, is again subdivided into three types, which is disease control, disease elimination, and disease eradication. Okay, you can note that down. I'll give you the notes, but still you can note that down. Disease control, disease elimination, and disease eradication. So here in the pathogenesis phase, this epidemiological triad that I was talking about, this comes into play. So I said there were three factors that were there in the epidemiological triad. Do you all remember what were the three factors that were present? This question was again in the exam, epidemiological triad. There were three options. There were three angles. In the three angles, there were three factors in epidemiological triad. You remember that?
Environment, host, and agent.
Yes, environment, host, and agent. So these were the three factors. So, and that epidemiological triad, it stated that there has to be an interaction between these three for a disease to occur. Because without the interaction, a disease cannot occur. Like in the pre-pathogenesis phase, the environment was there, the agent was also there, but the host, which is the human being, it was not there. So it is the pre-pathogenesis phase. But in the pathogenesis phase, there is an interaction between all these three factors. That is the environment, agent, and the host. Means the agent is present in the environment and the host is also susceptible to get the disease. So this is the pathogenesis phase. Now if I say disease control, so there are four factors at which disease control aims at. Disease control, it aims at reducing the incidence of disease. I'll explain this. Reducing the duration of disease, reducing the complication of infection, and reducing the financial burden to the family and community. So which means reducing the incidence of the disease. Reducing the incidence of the disease means we reduce the occurrence of the disease, or the number of time the disease has occurred. We aim at reducing that. We aim at reducing the occurrence of the disease. So that is reducing the incidence of the disease. Next is reducing the duration of disease, which means if the disease has occurred, at first we will try to stop the occurrence of the disease. The second is if the disease has occurred by any chance, okay, after that we will try to reduce the duration of disease. For example, if you are having fever, then instead of having it for a long time, we will give you medication so that your fever reduces and the duration of the fever, it gets lessened. So that is reducing the duration of disease. Third is reducing the complication of infections, which means the other complications which arise from a particular kind of disease. For example, as I said, polio. So poliomyelitis, it has got several complications, which means it leads to several disabilities. Okay. So there are several deformities that result from polio disease. For example, flexion deformity, then there is this hyperextension deformity. So there are several deformities. So we aim at reducing these, or we aim at reducing the complication after the infection. For example, there are several post-COVID complications as well. the lung compliance that decreases. Some people have shortness of breath even after COVID. So what we do is we try to reduce the other complications which are related to the disease. So that is another factor in disease control. The fourth is reducing the financial burden to the family and community. So if you have a disease, of course there are hospital expenses, the medication expenses, so we try to reduce that. So all these four factors come under disease control. First was we try to reduce the incidence or the occurrence of disease. The second one was if the disease has occurred, we try to make the disease last for a short period of time. The third was we try to reduce the other complications which arise from the disease. I mean the secondary complications. The fourth one was to reduce the financial burden, which means to reduce the amount of expenses on in the hospital or the medication. So these are this four comes under disease control. Is it clear? Disease control. Clear, or you want me to repeat this? Disease control. Shall I repeat disease control? Shall I repeat, or is it clear till now? See, if you want me to repeat, then I'll repeat it. I don't have problem in repeating. But the problem is, if you guys don't understand, then that's the problem. So let me know if you have not understood, then I'll let you know it again. But you can say. Is it clear, or shall I repeat? See, I can go on with my syllabus, but if you people don't understand, then there's no point in going ahead. So that's why I'm asking, have you understood disease control, or you want me to repeat this again? Okay, repeat the last one. So the last one was reducing the financial burden to the family and community, which means we are trying to reduce the expenses of the family and the community which are related to the disease. So if you have any kind of disease, you have to purchase certain medicines, you have to undergo certain treatment, or in certain cases surgeries. So there is a lot of financial burden on the family as well as the community. The community affects the community as a whole. So we try to reduce that burden or that financial burden to the family and the community as a whole. Clear? Okay. So this is about all about disease control. Okay, so in disease control, which means the disease, it is present in the environment, but it is of no longer a bigger threat to the public health. For example, if I say, then it's malaria control. Okay, you all know that malaria is in the environment, but it is not as harmful, or it is harmful, but it is not, we are not that susceptible to malaria as we are to the COVID scenario right now. Okay, so this is the disease control, which means we have achieved certain level in controlling the disease. There are certain pesticides for malaria control, we have medications for malaria control. So this disease, it is present in the environment, but it is not such a bigger threat as the other diseases. Example, malaria is not a bigger threat than COVID right now. So this scenario explains that. Next is disease elimination. So these two are small ones, disease elimination and disease eradication. So disease elimination means it is used to describe the interruption of transmission of disease in large geographical areas, which means, again I'll tell you about COVID. So COVID, it has spreaded in this large geographical area. It is all over the world. So the measures that we are taking to prevent that disease, okay, to prevent that disease in this whole world. So these measures, what we are trying to do, we are trying to eliminate the disease. So this is disease elimination. Means we are interrupting the transmission of the disease, or we are trying to break the chain. So this is the interruption of transmission of the disease in this whole geographical area. So you have understood disease elimination. You want me to repeat disease elimination? Okay. So last is, since others are not replying, I am considering that you have understood. So the last is disease eradication. Okay, eradication means complete elimination or ending. Complete end of a disease is disease eradication. Okay, so means we have done all the measures, or we have taken all the measures to stop the transmission of infection or the disease. Means the infectious agent, or if I take the example, if I say virus, that virus has been eliminated, and because of okay, I think so it got disconnected after a certain time. So this is the last one. Okay, this is disease eradication. Disease eradication means we have stopped the disease. How we can stop the disease? We have eliminated the infectious agent. For example, smallpox. Smallpox is the only disease till now that has been eradicated. You cannot find, there is no more cases of smallpox now. Okay, you will find no more cases of smallpox all over the globe. So smallpox is the only disease that has been eradicated till now. Means the virus, it has been extermination. There has been extermination of the virus, which means the smallpox virus is no longer present in the environment. Because of that, you will find no more cases of it. So smallpox is the only disease that has been eradicated till now. Is it clear? I'll repeat this again. First was disease control. So disease control, what it does was, we are trying to control the disease. Means we are trying to prevent the occurrence of the disease, or if the disease has occurred, we are trying to reduce the duration, we are trying to reduce the expenses, we are trying to reduce the secondary complication of the disease. So all these comes under disease control. And in disease control, the infectious agent, it is present in the environment but not a bigger threat. For example, malaria. You all know that malaria, we can have malaria anytime, but then it's not a bigger threat as COVID is. So this is disease control. Second is disease elimination. So the way we are trying to break the chain in the transmission of COVID, so that is disease interruption or disease elimination. We are trying to do that. We are trying to eliminate the disease in the human beings. Last is disease eradication, which means the infectious agent, it is no longer present in the environment. So we were successful in the extermination of this infectious agent. For example, smallpox. You will find no more cases of smallpox nowadays because it was the infectious agent itself was eliminated from the society. So if I say this Hindi proverb, we used to say no, na rahega bas, na bajegi basuri. So this applies here in disease eradication. So there is no more infectious agent, so the disease is also not occurring. So this is disease eradication. Okay, clear? Okay, any questions? Then you can ask. So we'll wind up today for now. If you have any questions, you can ask now. Means we are trying to interrupt the transmission. Okay, disease elimination means interruption of transmission. It has not been eliminated, it is still there. But elimination means we are trying to, or we are interrupting. We are interrupting that transmission of the disease. Means if we are taking these preventive measures, as I said, we are breaking the chain in case of COVID by taking these preventive measures like washing hands, using sanitizer, wearing mask. So through this, we are preventing the transmission of disease. So this is disease elimination. Eradication means the agent itself is not present now in the environment. In disease elimination, the agent is there. The agent is present in the environment, but we are eliminating it from the human being. Okay. So that is disease elimination. Clear? Okay. So any other questions? Do you have any other questions? Okay, I think so. No more questions. So we'll wind up the class now. Okay.